This is Surrender to Win, a look at what's holding you back from experiencing a life of peace and joy that God intends for us all. Your host is Brian Anderson, the program director and a substance abuse counselor at Rob's Ranch, a Christ-centered residential substance abuse treatment facility for men in Purcell, Oklahoma. This is Surrender to Win.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another Friday edition of the Surrender to Win show. I am your host, Brian Anderson, and I am the program director at Rob's Ranch, a Christ-centered substance abuse treatment facility for men. And we are located in Purcell, Oklahoma. Appreciate you joining us today. And today we're going to be talking about a subject that I really enjoyed this subject on a whole different list of reasons why I enjoy it. And as we get into it today, I'll kind of allude to that as to why I enjoy this subject so well. Each week I try and pick a mental health topic, a behavioral pattern, something that interests me, something that either I've experienced myself and had to learn how to overcome, something that I deal with on a frequent basis with individuals that I get to work with. And so the ultimate goal of this show is to provide information to people and talk about subjects that, a lot of people out there won't talk about, or they're afraid to talk about. They're afraid to hurt somebody's feelings if we bring some of this stuff up. And ultimately, these things that I bring up each week, in my opinion, these are things that keep people from living a life that is truly peaceful and productive and, experiencing life the way God hopes us to be able to experience life. Now, I'm not trying to paint some picture here of that's unrealistic. Everybody's going to have problems. Everybody's going to suffer loss and trauma and setbacks. That's part of being alive. That's life. But the Bible specifically talks about a peace that surpasses all understanding. And I know for my entire life, I didn't understand what that was. I was constantly in search of stuff, whether that was materialism, whether that was educational degrees, whether that was positions, status symbol, materialism, promotions when I was serving in the military. That's what I was looking for to provide me that sense of well-being, that sense of purpose. And what I found out was those were the wrong things for me to be pursuing. Those were just things. And what I was really missing was a spiritual relationship with Jesus Christ. And fortunately, I found it. And since that has happened, my life has never been the same. It has never been the same. And that's a good thing. I have people who have known me my whole life. And they'll tell you they don't recognize who I am today. And for me, that is a great compliment. That is a great thing. Because I'm not the person I used to be. I don't want to ever go back to that person I used to be. And not that I was a bad guy. I think overall my life was well. I did a lot of great things. I was very, very blessed to be able to serve our country in the United States Army for 22 years. I got to serve with a lot of amazing, amazing soldiers in the Army. And yet, even with all of that, I still felt something missing inside. I still didn't feel complete. I still didn't feel, like I had, what my purpose was in life. And for me, it took literally, going to my knees and just saying, God, I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to feel this misery anymore. And it took me losing things. It took me dealing with problems in my relationships. It took me getting fired from a job. It took me having to become honest and real with who I am and where I had gone. And I will tell you guys that for me personally, went to some dark places. And those are things that I have deep regret and remorse for today. But I don't live there anymore. I'm not stuck in that anymore. And I'm truly who I am supposed to be today. And that leads me to today's topic. And today's topic is about phoniness. Fake people. Phony people. And let me give you just a quick example of what a fake and phony person looks like. A fake and phony person is that person whose life behind closed doors, whose life in secret is different than the life they try to portray to everybody else out in society, and maybe even some family members. And so they're living a double life. The life they want everyone to see, and they want people to believe. And then they have their real life, and that's the life that they live behind closed doors. When they're in the privacy of their own residence, or they're in the privacy of wherever they're at. More importantly, when they're in the privacy of their own head. And so much of this world is filled with fake and phony people. Just turn on your local CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, I don't care what it is, any station that has politics on it. Just look at your atypical politician. I don't care what side of the fence it's on. Left, right, Republican, Democrat, it's irrelevant. The behaviors that you often see are phoniness. And what is that phoniness? Well, here's an example. People who run on the platform that, hey, I'm here for you. And I'm with you, the little guy. And I'm here to make the system better. And I want to be the one that brings everybody together at the table. And then they get elected. And what they say now starts to align with completely different things. Their behaviors don't follow suit with what they say. And they make backdoor deals, and they deal with lobbyists, and they're phony. They're telling us what we want to hear so they can get something out of it to get elected. Now, I'm not saying that every single politician out there is that way, because I know there are good politicians out there that are truly trying to do a good job for their community, for their state, for this country. But here's the problem. Typically, those politicians get run out. They get chewed up by the system. They get blocked at every turn trying to do something because they're not playing the game. They're not being phony. And, it's no secret that the lowest approval rating of almost any job in the United States is Congress. Well, that's not a coincidence. That's because you're dealing with a bunch of phony people. Now, you can probably tell by the length of time I'm staying on this that I'm not a big fan of our politicians' behaviors. And I make a clear distinction here. It's their behaviors that repulse me. Not them as a human being, but their behaviors. And as we finish talking today about fake and phony people, try and keep that in mind. It's not the person that we necessarily dislike. It's their behaviors. It's that inauthenticity of their behaviors. It is they're repulsive, especially when we can see through them. Here's an example that I give to clients that I get to work with. And it's the analogy of a counterfeit $100 bill. Now, I could, Xerox copy a $100 bill. And I could take a real $100 bill. And maybe even from a distance, the two will look the same. And some people can really counterfeit money and it makes it look really, really, good. And maybe it cons a lot of people. Maybe a lot of people will be conned by that counterfeit $100 bill. But upon really, really close inspection, you'll start to see that counterfeit $100 bill is not a real $100 bill. It's missing the authentic markings and the authentic feel. And that's because it's phony. And how much does a counterfeit, fake $100 bill, how much is it worth? How much is its value? And the answer is nothing. Its genuine, true value is nothing because it's not real. It's fake. And no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you try to paint it and or change the way it looks, it will never, ever, ever be a real $100 bill. It will always, always be a fake and a counterfeit. And it will never, ever, ever truly be worth $100. And that is what happens when people are fake and phony. When people try to be something or somebody that they're not. They may look really, really, really close like whatever they're trying to present themselves out, but they're really never, ever going to truly be what that is because they're being fake and they're being phony. And as long as somebody is behaving and talking and acting in a fake and phony manner, they will never, ever truly have genuine self-esteem. Because any esteem that they build or they get by being fake and phony is going to be fake and phony self-esteem. It can't be anything else but that. So we got to stop being fake and phony. We got to stop being counterfeit. if you want to truly have genuine self-esteem and have, feelings of being valuable and feelings of having worth. That's the only way. We'll be back in a minute. We'll talk some more about those fake and phony people. You're listening to Surrender to Win with your host, Brian Anderson, on Crossover Radio. Radio with a purpose.
Do you hear that? That means the start of a good day in my household. If I don't have that first cup to begin my morning, then I'm guaranteed my day is going to be a struggle. And nobody makes better coffee than Grounds for Compassion coffee. It's coffee with conviction. So head on over to their website, g4c.coffee. That's G4c.coffee. Or give them a call at 405-603-1902 to get your own cup of Get Up and Go.
I just love it out here. It's so peaceful, and you get chills when you come out, and you feel the presence of God, man. It's something, and the feelings. That's something a lot of us have never had.
Opiates, meth, alcohol. Are you addicted? Rob's Ranch is a non-profit, Christ-based treatment center for men located in central Oklahoma. Rob's Ranch uses proven treatment methods and a program of spiritual growth to give men the opportunity to restore their lives and their relationships. Every member on staff has been there and are now in recovery themselves. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction to drugs or alcohol, please call 405-253-3838 or find Rob's Ranch on Facebook or online at robsranch.org.
They're just so accepting, so caring. It'll change your life if you're not careful.
On live, worldwide, 24/7, 365. It's Crossover Radio. Radio with a purpose.
Well, I have a wonderful electronic invention I want you to see. It looks something like this.
You're listening to Surrender to Win with Brian Anderson on Crossover Radio. Radio with a purpose.
Hey, welcome back. I hope you are enjoying the talk about fake and phony people. World's filled with them. Filled with fake and phoniness. I mean, our entire entertainment, industry is filled with image and projection of stuff that we're not. I remember reading a story here. I don't know. I think it's been a couple years ago. There was this guy who, he wanted so desperately to look like Justin Bieber. In fact, he was on a TV show. I think it was, some type of plastic surgery, Hollywood type TV show. And this guy had I don't even know how many plastic surgeries this guy had to make his face look like Justin Bieber. And I'll tell you what, he got kind of close. I mean, I could kind of see a vague resemblance. But the problem is no matter how many hundreds of thousands of dollars that this guy spent trying to look like Justin Bieber, he was never going to be Justin Bieber. Never. And he was never going to look just like Justin Bieber. No matter what he did. And he was never going to truly convince anybody that he was Justin Bieber. Maybe from a distance, he would look like Justin Bieber. But as soon as people got up close to them, they'd realize, well, that's not him. Sad part is I heard that guy ended up dying. And I may not have 100% my facts straight on the story, but I think he died from a drug overdose. And folks, that stuff happens every single day. Every single day. One of the things I've talked about here on the show quite a bit, and I talk with my clients about it, is that all behavior serves a purpose. And if somebody is being fake and phony, they're not doing it just randomly. There's a purpose behind the reason that they are fake and phony. They're looking for something. They want something. They need something. They need people's approval. They need people's acceptance. They need to look like somebody that they don't want to be, or that they don't like. And I don't care who you are. No matter how hard an individual tries to be something that they're not, they will never, ever truly be something or somebody that they weren't designed to be. And it is my belief that the harder we try to be somebody that we're not, the more anxiety, the more depression, the more anger, the more resentments, the more misery that we find ourselves living in. And I don't need to tell you. You either know somebody who's that way, or you may be that way yourself. It's never going to change. So here's some characteristics that I often see with people who are inauthentic, they're fake, they're phony. And one of them is that they're generally outwardly, verbally, they're full of themselves. They may have a high opinion of themselves, and they want to make sure everyone around them sees how great they are. And oftentimes, they'll view other people as beneath them. Now, I see this phenomenon a lot when I'm dealing with people from affluent, backgrounds, people who come from great means and wealth. I'm not suggesting that anybody and everybody who comes from affluent background and has great wealth and resources. I'm not making the assumption that everybody who comes from that is fake and phony. I know many people from affluent backgrounds who are as genuine as genuine can be. But I will tell you that I do see a lot of phoniness in the affluent culture, in that that wealthy environment, that wealthy culture. And one of the behavior things that I will find, or the psychological things, is that some of those people will have views that they're above other people. Their wealth makes them above other people, and everyone else is beneath them. The people on the lower economic ladder are beneath them. And the bottom line is that if you look at them closely and you look very carefully through their curated exterior, you're going to see that they're struggling with low self-esteem about themselves. And they use a bloated ego and their vanity to cover up the inadequate feelings that they have. And if you try to look too deep, or you try to confront that, you're usually going to meet a lot of resistance and a lot of pushback. And I see it over and over again. They'll often manipulate those people around them. But they very seldom will address their own problems head on. They'll spend their time and their energy focusing on looking for ways to make themselves appear more important or make themselves appear, better, whatever it is. Another characteristic is that they don't typically express their emotions freely and clearly. A lot of times, inauthentic people, fake and phony people, they don't know how to cope with their emotions. Usually the only way we see, or the predominant response we see from them is aggression. And they use aggressiveness, they use anger to cover up what their true feelings are. Anger is a secondary emotion. It is used to usually cover up pain and sadness and hurt and fear and shame and guilt. That's what anger is usually used to cover up. There are times that are appropriate for anger. Self-defense, if someone was trying to hurt you or your family legitimately. But what I'm talking about is the anger that people use if anybody starts to get too close to uncovering their phoniness. Anger that they use to cover up the shame and the low self-esteem and the fear and the hurt that they have inside. Because they don't know how to cope with their emotions. They don't know how to express them. They don't understand what it means to be true to themselves. So they're constantly running away from who they really are. And when they're in that state, they are incapable of expressing how they truly feel. They've had a lifetime pattern of cutting themselves off from their deep emotions. And oftentimes it's because they're afraid of what they're going to find out. Or it hurts too bad. It goes back to all behavior serves a purpose. If somebody is sitting there, lying to you, cheating, bending the rules, those behaviors serve a purpose. Fake people are two-faced. As I said at the very beginning of this, they will live one life out in public, out around, other people, friends, maybe even family members. Yet they will live a different life in the privacy and the aloneness inside their head or behind closed doors where people can't see it. Fake people will act one way in front of their friends and then they turn right around and they talk bad about that same friend, or they talk behind their backs because they're trying to gain the acceptance or the approval of whoever they're with at the moment. And so they're willing to throw their other friends under the bus just to gain acceptance and approval from whatever group that they're in. And that's fake and phony. And that behavior is for a purpose. Their own low self-esteem, their own feelings of inadequacy are causing them to project somebody that they're not in order to gain acceptance from other people. We all know one. We all know somebody who's that way. And although I don't like to admit it, I was the same way. I so feared what people thought about me, and I so desperately wanted people's acceptance that if it was advantageous to me to be phony, to try to fit in, I would be phony and try and fit in. And the problem is that I just thought that's just how everybody is. That's what I believed. I thought, well, that's just how everybody is. Thought everybody was fake and phony. And it wasn't until I started doing my own work on myself that I realized not everybody is fake and phony. There are people out there who are genuinely authentic, honest, true people. But at the time, in those years past, I wasn't one of them. So we're going to take a break, and we come out on the other side. I will keep talking about those fake and phony people. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Surrender to Win on Crossover Radio. Radio with a purpose.
Hey, this is Big Nate, Program Director here at Crossover Radio, and I just wanted to let you know that Crossover Radio is now the flagship station for Bethany Bronco Athletics. Sponsorships will be filling up fast, so to join in and promote your business, contact the station by phone or by text at 405-494-0234 for more information. And go Broncos!
My name is George Schaefer.
And I'm Meredith Schaefer. Together, we are founders of STORM, Strategic Treatment Options and Recovery Ministries.
And we provide an individualized blueprint of recovery for both the addict and their family members, regardless of the situation in which they find themselves.
And starting in March 2019, we are opening up a sober living home for men called the Storm Shelter.
For more information, please visit our website at www.storminc.org.
Or you can call our office line, 405-503-7442. Join us in fighting for the eradication of the epidemic of addiction.
Hey, welcome back to the show. We are talking about fake and phony people and some of the characteristics, behavioral patterns that they exhibit. A little bit about why they do it. Bottom line is, man, fake and phony people are everywhere. They surround us. We know them. Maybe some of our friends are that way. Maybe some of our family members are that way. Doesn't mean we still don't love them, that we still don't care about them. But man, it can be frustrating dealing with fake and phony people. And if you don't know what you're looking at and you don't know why, it just creates so much havoc inside families and relationships and friends. You know, one of the things that I was blessed with was my wife. God truly blessed me with my wife. And I could do, several weeks worth of shows on all the wonderful reasons why, my wife is a blessing to me. And one of them is because no matter how full of crap I was, no matter how phony I was, she always saw the real me. And I remember her one day saying to me, after I had gone through my nightmares and of addiction and everything else, and I was getting into recovery and I was changing my life, I remember her looking at me going, I never understood, Brian, why you just weren't yourself. Why did you always try to impress people? And, the simple answer was because I never felt good enough inside. And I can't tell you why that is. I don't think there's any singular reason. I think it's a combination of a whole bunch of stuff. But she always wanted to know why I just wouldn't be who I was. And she said, you've always been good enough just the way you are. Problem was I didn't believe it. And it didn't matter how many accomplishments I had. It didn't matter how many master's degrees I had. It didn't matter how many ribbons or bronze stars or medals or anything like that I had. None of that mattered, because I still didn't feel good enough inside, deep down inside. I didn't feel good enough. And because of that, there were times, many, many times, that I would be fake and phony, or at the very least, I just wouldn't be my authentic self. Now, here's the catch. If somebody becomes friends with you when you are being fake and phony and being, inauthentic, then are they truly being your friend? Or are they being being a friend with the perceived image that you're projecting? And that's not fair to them. And that's not right to them. Because they may think, hey, I'm being friends with this great person, but deep down inside, we're being phony. We're a counterfeit. And that's not right to the people who, are friends with us. And so, we owe it to the people that we're friends with. We owe it to our families to be in our authentic self. I mean, what other way can we express to somebody that we genuinely care for them and that we genuinely appreciate who they are than by just being authentic with who we are in our relationships with them? So another characteristic that fake and phony people have and inauthentic people have is they have unrealistic perceptions. And they're often incredibly toxic. And what I mean by those unrealistic expectations or perceptions is, as I said earlier, they often get wrapped up in materialism, because in their world, the stuff, the titles, the job positions, the neighborhoods, the cars, the clothes, the image, that's the stuff that fills their life. That's how they identify themselves. So it's an unrealistic perception of self. And they're going to be interested in collecting things. They may even, spend time bragging about, all the things that they're working on, or that's supposed to come to them in the future. They're going to have a limited view of how the world actually is, because they're focused solely on money or wealth or status or prestige or what other people can do for them. So that limits, their view. It limits their world view of things, because they're looking at things through a distorted lens. And often you're going to find that these people make decisions about their life, and they build upon their life based on those flawed perceptions and those views through that distorted lens. And it goes back to being counterfeit and fake and phony. If I build a life, if I build an image, if I build relationships, if I build all of this on counterfeit things, then that life itself is filled with counterfeit stuff. How can it ever be genuine? It can't be, because the things, the building blocks that people who are fake and phony use to interact with the world and to interact with society is counterfeit. And you can go to any industry. I don't care if it's the church. I don't care if it's a Fortune 100 company, 500 company, your schools, your PTA association, your neighborhood, neighborhood group or whatever. Anywhere you go, you're going to find individuals who have these characteristics, who have these behavioral patterns, because this world is filled, absolutely filled with fake and phoniness. The Pharisees were fake and phony. The Sadducees were fake and phony. They tried to present an image to everybody that they were around, everybody in Israel. Tried to present an image of how great, godly, holy men they were. But yet, they were fake and phony. And they didn't follow through with the same, the things that they preached to people. They didn't follow, completely through with the things that they were telling everyone else to do. Well, guess what, folks? That's hypocrisy. That's being fake and phony. They judged. Deeply did they judge. I mean, look what they did to Christ. Based off judgment. So fake and phony people are very destructive and are very toxic. Their whole life is an act. And it's designed, let's make no mistake about this. A fake and phony person, their behavior, their fakeness, their phoniness has one purpose. And that purpose is to manipulate other people. It's manipulation. They're doing it to manipulate other people, to manipulate them into thinking that they're something or somebody that they're not. Not every person who is living in a fake and phony manner knows this is why they're doing it. And most of them don't know this is why they're doing it because, as I said earlier, they're incapable of recognizing these things. Their perception of the world is skewed. So it's very difficult for them to even see their own phoniness. And so these behaviors just become natural, the way that's just it becomes the way they behave, it's habitual, and it seems natural to them because that's just how they live, and they've done it for so long. So even though they don't maybe consciously know that they're manipulating people, and that's why they're being fake and phony, is because they're trying to manipulate people. That doesn't preclude the fact, but that is what they are doing. They are manipulating other people. They're manipulating you. And if all the things that I described fit you, then you are manipulating other people. That's just what it is. There's no other reason or no other purpose behind it. So we're going to take our last break here, and when we come back on the other side, we'll wrap up on phony and fake people.
Darkness, my home was the night. They came into my life, showed me brilliant light.
Hey, this is Coach Coleman, and I'm the play-by-play voice for your Bethany Broncos. I know there's a lot of guys out there who are trying to kick that nasty tobacco dipping habit, and I know most guys need a little energy boost to try to get them through a long day. And I'm here to give you a solution for both. Grind's coffee pouches. Grinds are coffee-filled pouches infused with your favorite flavors, such as wintergreen, mint, vanilla, and many more. All of the ingredients in Grinds are 100% safe for consumption and will add a pep to your step. So head on over to getgrinds.com and use our promo code CMI15 to get 15% off your order today. Again, that's getgrinds.com and use the promo code CMI15 to get 15% off of your order. It's time to rise and grinds with Grinds today.
Whether you need a professional writer to build or expand your online presence, or fresh new designs and new perspective to build your business, where do you start? Tales from the Click Media is committed to telling your story in a way that promotes business growth, consistent branding, and long-term success. So whether you have 1 or 100 employees, no tale is too small to tell. Call us today at 405-620-6200 or visit our website at talesfromtheclickmedia.com.
If you love listening to Crossover Radio, download the Crossover Radio app, available on all major platforms. It's absolutely free to our listeners, and you can connect with us and listen on the go. Crossover Radio. It's radio with a purpose.
You're listening to Surrender to Win with Brian Anderson on Crossover Radio. Radio with a purpose.
Hey, welcome back to the show. We are talking about those fake and phony people. The fake and phony world that we live in. Man, nothing seems real anymore. I mean, you can't trust anything. You can't trust anything on the internet. I don't know, some of you guys may have seen this before. I thought it was kind of funny. It says, it's got a picture of Abe Lincoln on it. And the caption below it says something to the effect of like, not everything on the internet is real. Or something like that, and as though it's a quote from Abe Lincoln. So I probably butchered that up really bad, but I remember that meme. I always thought that was kind of funny, but unfortunately, it's pretty apropos for what we're talking about here because, man, the whole world is filled with nonsense, and it is filled with fake and phoniness. And it's hard to live that way sometimes. It's hard to build trust with things because we often think that, man, everybody is out for something, and a lot of people are. But you know what? You don't have to be that way. You can do the best that you can. You can do the next right thing. You can live the best life that you can. And just because everybody else isn't doing it, or the majority of the world isn't doing it, doesn't mean you can't. It doesn't mean, that you're not supposed to. There's a saying I saw that said, hey, just because everybody's doing it doesn't mean it's right. And just because nobody's doing doesn't make it wrong. Something like that. I think I butchered that one too. Hopefully you get the point. Well, guys, listen. Fake and phony people. It is something that I get to deal with on a daily basis. And even though I understand the psychology behind it and I understand why people do it, it still doesn't mean that it's not frustrating trying to penetrate through that fake and phoniness. And I know that it's a defense mechanism, and I know it's stuff that people use to get those deep Maslow's needs met of love and belonging and of self-esteem. This is one of those tools that people use to try and get those needs met, and that's the fake and phoniness. It never is going to work because it's counterfeit. it's not real. And it never will be real. No matter how hard someone tries, it will never, ever be real. So a couple other things that you're going to see with fake and phony people often is you're going to see that they often have a hostile sense of humor, or let's call that passive aggressiveness. They may even you may see it on the outward, on their face, a fake smile. It looks like that smile that they've got is a contrived smile that it's forced. It's not authentic. And while they're doing this, under that fake smile, under all of that phoniness, they're building up resentments towards other people around them. They may often see the world, in a very cynical manner. Going back to another one of those lenses I was talking about, they see it very cynically. They don't trust anybody. Now, here's the reason that they don't trust anybody is because they're not trustworthy themselves. And it's called projection. I talked about it on another show, but it's called projection. However we're thinking and however we're behaving, we start to project that onto other people. And we just assume that, hey, that's just how they live. And their motives behind things are the exact same as my motives. And so people who are fake and phony, they don't trust people because they themselves are not trustworthy. And their default button, if you want to call it, that they use a lot of times is sarcasm, passive aggressiveness. They make fun of things, or they make fun of people. They use this technique in a way to bolster their own self-esteem, make themselves feel better. Now, here's going to be a touchy subject, and I just want to share it with a little bit. And there may be a whole group of people that completely disagree with me, and that's okay. But I used to follow this Facebook page called Stolen Valor. And basically all that is a Facebook page of veterans and people who support veterans. And the main purpose behind this is calling out people who are fake and phony, and they do it by means of the military, either by uniforms or by stories, things of that nature. And so the whole purpose of this Stolen Valor page was to, quote unquote, call these fake and phony people out. That somehow, this was going to solve the world's problems of imposters and fake and phony. And I used to subscribe to that same belief system. And I used to think that was the greatest sight ever, watching other people video record them shredding people who were being fake and phony in a military uniform or what have you. And I used to think that was the greatest thing ever, because I was like, yeah, show those people, teach them, because by gosh, I was a veteran and they don't deserve to wear that uniform, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what I realized over time is the reason it made me so angry that I would see these fake and phony people, when I really dug down deep inside, is because there were things that I was being fake and phony about, just in my life in general. Now, I didn't see the correlation during the time, and I've only come to an understanding of that after doing my own personal, work. But the bottom line is other people were just completely obliterating, emotionally obliterating other people about their fake and phoniness. I remember one guy going, my brother, died in that uniform. Well, no, he didn't die in that particular uniform. I do understand the point he's trying to make, but it wasn't that uniform. I've had friends that I served with and men that were under my command that, are no longer here on this earth. And those are very, very, very touchy subjects. But the truth of the matter is that particular uniform, that whatever the guy, the imposter was wearing, that wasn't the uniform that my buddies wore. That wasn't the uniform that the other guys that were busting them out wore. They were transferring their feelings about something onto something else, an inanimate object. And people destroy other people because of these things. Now, I know my position on this is, not a popular one. And probably the majority of the people who, maybe hear this disagree with my position. And I'm okay with that. That's okay. I'm merely sharing my opinion and what I believe on it. Because my belief is the way the guys I served with, what they mean to me, nobody on the face of this earth is going to be able to take that away. Nobody's going to cheapen it. Some imposter who's out there trying to get a discount at a store is not going to somehow disrespect or cheapen the memory or the great things that the people I served with have done. It's just not going to happen. But that's my belief. That's what I believe in. That's what I choose to believe in. And so I don't go around trying to just shred people who are fake and phony anymore, because, again, all behavior serves a purpose. And the behavior of those individuals trying to be fake and phony, and the purpose behind their behavior is that there's something deep down inside that they feel inadequate about. And they're searching to fill that. And so they go to great lengths to try and present something that they're not. They try to project an image. They try to become a character, something that they're not. And for me, once I understood and I came to realize that there are deeper emotional problems with individuals who are fake and phony, then I started to have a little bit more patience and compassion for them. I don't like their behaviors, and some of their behaviors are absolutely intolerable. And some of them are downright destructive, and they shouldn't be tolerated, and they should be held accountable for some of the things that they do. But that still doesn't preclude the fact that there is an underlying cause for their behaviors. That's just how psychology works. And when we start to understand what is underneath people being fake and phony, we actually kind of start to get a look at ourselves. And we get to kind of start to look inside ourselves. And maybe we can identify times when we were fake and phony about something. And then we get to make a decision. Do I want to change my life? Do I want to continually improve? I hope you do. I hope you never stop trying to get better. I hope you never stop trying to be a better servant of God. It's an amazing life. I hope to see you guys next week. God bless and have a great weekend.
If you or someone you know is struggling with substance abuse, call Rob's Ranch today, 405-253-3838.
Online at robsranch.org or find him on Facebook at Rob's Ranch.